went to prison. I was getting into fights a lot. I was drinking a lot. There was a lot of defensiveness. You're not in trouble unless you get caught mentality. So I'm like, where do we actually go to process our emotions and like meet the anger that is so relevant? I was clearly like seeking to understand myself.
What our environments can create within us, and then you don't even realize what it's created because you're just trying to survive that environment.
There was a lot of avoidance also within that. We can all deceive ourselves, but then put me back in a more chaotic, familiar environment, and all the patterns are there, all the destructive behaviours can still be there. I think the pendulum swings, and it's important to find the edge and then come back into balance. We need to create new models and new systems to allow us to thrive and together, because there's so much separation, there's so much disconnect.
I think a lot of people are scared. I think, the world can be a scary place, and it looks like a really scary place. And I think some of the responsibility that we have as human beings, creating safety within ourselves, so therefore we can offer safety for others as well.
We've just made it so easy for people to hide on their phones, hide in their screens. Like, we are just so cut off from the hearth. I was just able to meet this rage and then integrate it and to understand it and to meet it with more love. And I think that's what most of these energies need.
Welcome to the Soul Revolution podcast, a space where stories find their voice and we find ourselves within them.
The revolution starts within.
Hi Soul Revolution family, welcome to another episode of our podcast. It's always a joy to extend gratitude and honour to the individuals that join me here. It's a beautiful space to hold, and I'm really excited to introduce our next guest, who goes by the name of Chris Geisler. Chris is a men's coach, he's a podcaster, he is also a community host at Ansel. And he does so much, from ecstatic dance to talks. I've watched some of his podcasts that he's done previously. He's just an amazing guy. So I really am looking forward to this conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Amani means face. Literally, I'll have you saved in my phone as Amani means face.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good, yeah. I'm feeling really good. Yeah, lovely little dose of cacao. Sat by the fire, ready to dive into an incredible medium that many people will listen to and get to know me a little bit more.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been asking me over the years, like, can I like interview you, or like,
nice,
can someone interview you?
Yeah.
To get to know the story a bit more. And I have been on many podcasts, but yeah, it's always an interesting one to be interviewed after interviewing so many people.
Of course, yeah. And we were just talking about feeling comfortable or uncomfortable. Are you feeling comfortable with being interviewed?
Intentionally uncomfortable. So that's like a better relationship to the discomfort.
Sure.
Because I want this to happen, I want to be uncomfortable here.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be easy, I feel
Okay.
that's an invitation for you to challenge me if you feel you want to, and just see what makes for the best conversation.
Beautiful. With your permission, I would love to delve into where because I don't actually, we've met maybe just once actually at Soul Rev, I think this year.
Yeah.
I've heard much about you through Alex, and I know people often get you too confused, which is hilarious. Somebody bought Chris an ice cream at the festival thinking it was Alex, so yeah. But I'm really looking forward to kind of getting to just understand your journey and what has, led to where you are today. And I know that's such a big question, but where would you like to start? How did this journey begin for you?
Yeah, it's always interesting when people ask that, because for me, and I think for a lot of people, there's never a clear moment where it was like all or nothing, and then you kind of had nothing, then you had it all. It's never worked out like that for me. It's been a gradual like decaying and just like metamorphosis of like who I've definitely become, which is just more of myself, right? And coming back to me, I guess, in the younger years, and connecting to that energy, which is just me and my authentic self, and less in my head, more in my body, more present. But I'd say take it back to age 19, when I got faced with like a real big decision, when I was at Crown Court in Worcester, not too far away from here, and my mum and dad had been invited to court because I had a hearing, And there was this big moment where I had this decision to make. I had to say, yes, I've committed these crimes. So I went to prison like 3 times in a year. Pretty much the whole year I was in some sort of like on home detention curfew or in prison. And like age 19, you know, if you remember those years, it's quite confusing. And there was a lot of defensiveness, there was a lot of lack of responsibility, denial, you're not in trouble unless you get caught mentality. And I never internalized it like I was a bad person. I never had shame around it, but I was trying to get away with it.
Okay.
And I had to just make this decision. I was like, this, it's stacked up against me, and I've got mum and dad in the room, and I'm like, yeah, I did it all. It was me. And I just remember just feeling hollow, like I just remember this like sinking feeling. It wasn't a nice feeling at all. It wasn't like, oh, I'm free now, I've just told the truth. It was like, wow, I have to like admit these things. That was a real moment, but I didn't realize it was a moment until probably another 5+ years. It was just like who I was and what I was getting through, and went to prison, for like a sentence to 14 months. And for context, I was getting into fights a lot. I was drinking a lot. I was really had this uncontrollable anger that would come out when I would be intoxicated. And I was banned from licensed premises in the town, and I was reckless. It was like a train wreck. But like you stop the train, and how long does it take for the carriages to like stop? A long time, you know. It was like that was the metaphor other people were using, not me. I went to prison and then came out, and this was around the time like Facebook was birth. I remember coming out and like getting a profile, and I was kind of like, right. It didn't really hold me back from doing much. I went to university, carried on probably the reckless behaviour, but in a very different environment, which was good for me. But yeah, there was clearly this like lack of awareness, like uncontrollable rage that was just bubbling up. And yeah, I speak about this on my website as well, the kind of like understanding of how I've learned to understand it, which was a real like disconnection from who I was. And I just didn't feel like I trusted anyone outside of myself. There was no one there calling me into integrity, showing me better ways to actually be. I'm sure there were, but it didn't feel like that for me. So yeah, went to university, then really, I didn't think I really changed that much. Like I never learned not how to go back in, and this is a big thing, and it kind of feeds into my work now. Of like, how are we actually educating, teaching, guiding, facilitating actual people to connect to themselves? Like I just never had that. It just didn't seem like that was, you know, a resource. There was no resource for me to understand who I was or what I was going through. It was just kind of labeling behaviour, which I do my best not to do right now, which is hard at times when people cause me pain or there's pain happening in the world. Like first we do is label it. But yeah, I went to university, came out, and then went travelling, and that opened up a whole new chapter. Really, that was the moment where I had to go back into this story. I was applying for a visa in Australia, and I remember they asked for like accounts of all these incidents that I'd done, and I had to like write like every it was like journaling. At first I ever really journaled about like my life, and it was very uncomfortable. I just didn't want to do it. Every part of me just wanted to say no, I didn't do that, and just to hide it still. But I actually met someone traveling, and she called me into like further integrity around it, and she was like, this is really important for you, I feel. And then went to Australia, and 2 years of travel, read The Alchemist, opened up my world, and I was experiencing a lot of things, and I look back and still very unhealthy, but I was rejecting all the masculine parts of me that got me into trouble, and I softened into the feminine, and I went all the way to start learning about yoga and ancient wisdom and philosophy around Eastern traditions, and I went to Southeast Asia. I was in Cambodia for a long time. But I came back after 2 years and lived in London, and I was there for 4 years, and I still was just so lost. That was when I went into a big bout of depression, I'd say. I, again, didn't internalize it. I was like, okay, I know this isn't always, like, this isn't necessarily about me. This is about an environment I'm in, and like I'm having a healthy reaction to something that doesn't serve me ultimately. And I always kind of saw that it didn't have to be this way, and if I just kept going. And this has been part of the journey, is like to keep on moving forward in some capacity, keep learning and keep growing. And yeah, over the next really 10 years of just self-study and learning and books. I just went back home to Worcester, and my book collection is like mad. Like I don't think I've read much of it, but like I was clearly like seeking to understand myself, going within. And yeah, it was a huge few years of just really doing that. But actually being very very, very unhealthy at the same time. Like didn't really have many people around me that I could trust, that I relied on, that I had connections with. Like I didn't really feel like I was part of a community. Like I remember Antama, you've just had on, I remember going to Butterfield in the city, and this time where I was like really scrambling around for like, and the partner who I was with was really like kind of leading the way when it came to self-development and like inner work. And I went to Butterfield in the city, this is about nearly 10 years ago, and I was just like, what is going on here? Just like the like incense and the like sage, and I'm like, oh my God. I just didn't trust anybody. I was judging so many people. I remember I met Antama and I was like, wow. Like I just felt like there was so much fakeness in the room. And whether or not that was true, like it was clearly like huge for me. And I rejected it at first. I was rejecting a lot of the spiritual, as well as doing yoga, and like that made sense to me. It was this process of like learning about why these judgments were there. I was in London for 4 years, and still really like knew I had to face the fears. Like there's an amazing quote by the main man, Nick Mulvey, talks about fear will keep you clean but unclear. Like the thing that you're afraid of will keep you clean. If you avoid it, it will keep you kind of clean but very unclear. So I knew, and learning a lot about, I could go in so many different directions. What I did reject a lot of the spirituality that we see. I rejected that, and I searched for truth. Like I was the Chris McCandless Into the Wild. I was like, more than love, more than faith, give me truth. Like there's a Henry Thoreau quote, and I was really seeking and wanting to understand how did we come to be? Like how did we humans come to be here, and how did I come to be so confused when you look to nature and it all seems to work in harmony. And I started to learn about the history of humans, and actually going into like science and understanding about what it means to move, what it means to breathe, what it means to sleep as a human, and like trying to understand these natural needs that we all have. And this was before like the men's work and the more emotional and the more spiritual ritual ceremony sides of things. I was really diving into movement and breath, and understanding like how I can get all my needs met in a very like holistic sense. Because I knew like so much in our modern times that is for like supporting us just doesn't. And went on that journey, and then started a podcast, interviewing men mainly. Didn't even realise, went a whole year of just interviewing men, mainly about natural movement and like the biomechanics of us as humans, and like really getting our as I say, natural needs met. And then I went into, I actually cycled across Europe, and I did a huge pilgrimage, just quit, sold everything. That was when I left London last, even though I'm back there now. And I cycled across Europe to Istanbul on my own, just a solo mission, really just spending time alone. Because that's what I feared the most, was like being alone. So I knew I just had to face it and meet it. And when I'm in the woods, just completely surrounded by, well, I'd say nothing but everything, the paradox. It's just like being okay with who I am, not needing for any validation or anything external. And that's what it took. I don't think everyone has to go through that, but it was definitely a necessary ingredient to make me more fulfilled and present. but still, like, there were these incongruencies. I was in a relationship after that, and all these patterns just started playing out. So I had to really go back into the developmental early stages of understanding my emotional self and how the shadows were playing out. Yeah, and then got into the men's circles and men's work. But
Okay.
yeah, take a breath.
Yeah, no, thank you. This episode is sponsored by Little Earth. Little Earth is a retreat centre based in Wolverhampton. To find out more, you can check them out on Instagram or check them out on their website. I'm going to take you back a little bit. So I have a question for you around, so you were 19, you're in court, you got locked up for 14 months. What was it that you were escaping from at that time? When you now look back, what was it that was causing you to behave in a particular way that, you were probably unconscious of? What was it that you were surviving or trying to work out at that time?
I was avoiding, trying to move away from the pain that I would have faced and fear of the judgment that I thought I would receive. The lack of acceptance, my parents, friends.
Yeah.
That if I was to really be honest about the things I was doing, I felt it was a lot easier to hide. It's a lot easier to just not face up to that and try and get away with it. So it was just fear of being blamed, judged, reprimanded. I was just afraid of that.
And what do you think led to you doing the things that you were doing at that time?
A lack of self-awareness and understanding of how to process and be with and voice what I was feeling. A lack of, I never want to look outside of myself for the answers, but it plays a big part. Our environments impact us so much. And I feel if I had an environment that I could lean into that was held and contained, and I could actually move through this stuff a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have access to that.
Yeah.
And yes, that's outside of me. Taking responsibility though, I was just a kid. I did not know what I wanted to do. And that was a big part of it as well, the direction that I didn't have. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I wasn't. There was this anger because of that.
Yeah.
This confusion. I remember a lot of the time I was confused. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's such a poignant point in terms of environment, and what our environments can create within us, and then you don't even realize what it's created because you're just trying to survive that environment. It's the whole nature nurture, and okay, so you get to a point in your life then where you then do take responsibility, and then what happens for you internally? Like you said, you didn't feel shame. I remember you saying you didn't feel shame, but did you, the fear that you had around facing judgment, did you face judgment? Did you feel like you were judged in the way that you thought when you accepted or when you shared? You did.
I did,
yeah. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it was like this stamp, just of that's who you are. Now you need to be punished.
Wow, okay. And how did you then work through that? Or did that working through that come when you started travelling?
It definitely was then,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was really hard for my parents to see that, to go through that. My mum was menopause at the same time, I think, which I later found out. Okay. Which was adding to the pressure that she was under. But yeah, it's hard to say. It was a long time ago. I really blocked it, a lot of it out. Yeah. If I'm honest, it's because I was so young. It just felt like. Something I just didn't want to happen, just I could avoid it. If I can avoid feeling it, then great. If I can not mention it again, great. A real just immaturity. That this boy just doesn't want to be caught or get in trouble.
Is it immaturity though? Was that the right word? Do you think that's the right word for it? Because I would look at that very differently. I wouldn't say that's immature. I would just say it's somebody who's hurting and who just didn't know, like just didn't know what to do with any of that stuff, and it just came out in that way.
I guess you could have different definitions of immaturity.
Yeah.
Because I think that's true also.
Yeah.
But it's still an immature way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a maturation of taking responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
understanding what I need in a moment, and asking for help. Like I felt like I had to do it alone, right? This was a big narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't trust myself. I think as within, so without. Anything I was witnessing outside of myself and justifying how I was behaving or feeling this way was totally true for me too. So it was a lack of self-trust, self-understanding, and just like a lack of wanting to go in and reveal this. I could have created that from within for myself.
Yes, yeah. You could have. Yeah, absolutely. But if you weren't taught it or shown it, right?
Sure,
so again,
it's
the environment, then
important,
how does one learn that, you know? And it's generally only through, I'm having like the biggest deja vu right now. That's so strange, sorry. I'm like, this is so wild. But it's only through, I guess, as we journey and we mature, that we're then able to look back and say, actually, and that's when the maturity comes in. You start taking the responsibility, or sometimes you're forced into a corner and you're like, okay, I'm just going to have to take responsibility.
I think it's all our responsibility.
Everything.
When someone, but like my responsibility, if we're in connection and we're in community, this is such a big part of my mission now. It's my responsibility when you're out of integrity. I take that hurts me too. And how do I support you but not let you cross my boundaries? And how do we have that conversation? So for me, I just didn't have that when I was growing up. I don't think many people do have that. There's this real there's been a severance of connection, and there's such a blame culture and like pointing fingers and really like punishing people to reward them. There's this amazing book called Punished by Rewards, and we reward behavior, but then people get punished by that as well at the same time. And I think it's such an interesting thing that I think about quite a lot of how we do raise people up and call them in as well. It's again, it goes back to not labeling them as a bad person or labeling that behavior. If someone hasn't, big thing in authentic relating, if you don't understand why someone is being that way, you've not looked hard enough. And I do this a lot when I'm around people that I'm like, I just don't want to be around you because it feels like just constricting in my body. Like maybe they're moaning a lot, or maybe they're just like excusing their behavior, they're just outsourcing their own power, whatever it might be. And I'm like, wow, if I'm really taking this personally, then I haven't looked hard enough at what life is like for them. And I really think everything makes sense in context. So if we really understood someone's context for their inner world, their previous experience, then we would have so much more compassion and understanding. We don't have that context always, but I know that's true for me, to really like do my best within my power, within my boundaries and needs, to actually try and understand someone and why they're being the way they are. Because I think it would make sense to us if we knew. Like that classic quote, I don't like that man, I must get to know him better. And just to come back slightly though, the lack of people around me that really held that mirror up to me and was like, in a healthy way. And that's the challenge, that's the nuance, is when, how do I challenge you? Like I asked you at the start, like challenge me, but I want people around me that can do that, because I know I have shadows, I know I hide from things, and I need people around me to actually reveal that to me, but do it in a way that's through love, not through like fear of don't come close to me, here's a mirror. It's like, I love you that much that I want you to, be a better person ultimately.
No, absolutely. How do we, and I agree, by the way, I'm really motivated by that as well. You hit on, like blame culture, which is huge, cancel culture, blame culture, it's huge at the moment, it's rife. We create echo chambers for ourselves as well. So, we generally, I may say something, if I don't have enough people around me to challenge me, I'm just creating that echo chamber. So then my belief around that subject matter, even if it's completely wrong, grows and grows and grows and grows. How do we have those conversations? So, for example, I've done something to upset you,
Mm-hmm.
how do you have that conversation with maintaining your boundaries, as you said,
Yeah.
but then also providing a container where those emotions and feelings can breathe, and there's learning, and maybe not a cutting off, but essentially like, I'm not giving up on you, we're still going to grow. How
Yeah.
does one do that?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, it's
Nuanced,
depends on the
yeah,
context
of
of our
course.
relationship. Depends on what I'm doing in that moment. Do I need to make space for this? I would mirror back to you. This is what I'm hearing. Is that what you meant?
Mm-hmm.
Often, I think within myself, I say things and I don't actually mean it to come across that way, or it's in a moment. So I just think a moment to just pause and just check in. Is that what you meant by this? And that might even change your relationship to the thing that you've said. But just that, even that can shift things before they escalate. And I take that personally. And then I say it's something from a defensive point of view, or start to say that you're doing this. It's I think it's the single most thing we can all learn. It helps integrate experiences. If the quality of our lives is the quality of our relationships, then surely like how to, and our relationships are to the extent that of the conflict within them, then surely everything is about understanding how to navigate conflict.
Mm-hmm.
That's the metric of life.
Mm-hmm.
How do we navigate conflict? And this is what we do on podcasts. It's so amazing to actually have conversations for a long period of time that we can actually challenge each other. So yeah, I would say firstly checking in if that's what you meant. And if you did do that, I may even just say, this is what I'm hearing, and just repeat back to you. And then you might be like, yeah, or you might change it and just say something else, or be like, okay. I would then ask you if I could give you some reflections or give you some feedback on that, or could I challenge you to see this in a different way, or just trying to get more context of what you're saying, like not personalize it. We all have our lenses, we all have our perspectives, and they're all very different. So it's about like dropping into your world for a moment and just trying to really understand what you're saying. And then from that point, it generally does dissolve a little bit. Depends on the height and nature of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely have that, and scheduling some time. Maybe just like, all right, I'd love to hear everything you have to say. Put on a timer of 5 minutes, right? Can you explain? I would just listen. And just have like some sort of framework that we can both hear each other without like responding to each other constantly. I think that can help in conflict. And yeah, conflict resolution is such a big thing. I think a lot of people could lean into a little bit more. But I've studied in authentic relating, so there's different like ways of navigating, like assume nothing. So already, if I'm assuming what you're saying, or I'm trying to make sense of it through my lens, it's probably not going to be beneficial. I'm actually, the objective is to understand what you're saying, rather than listen to answer, listen to understand, right? I said the best way to get someone's attention is to give them yours. So like giving you like my presence, and not just from my words, it's like it has to come from my body also. I have to like energetically be with you, not just like washing up and just like, yeah, I'm hearing you. It's like actually, yeah, dedicating some time to actually have that conversation. But yeah.
I felt like was there a list? No, assume nothing.
Oh yeah, there is a list.
Yeah.
I can't remember in the order, but it's assume nothing, use I statements as much as possible, reveal yourself, like reveal as much as possible, like revealing what's underneath. And there's one more that I forget.
Okay.
But I think it's about four or five.
But those three: assume nothing, use I statements, and reveal how you, as in like I feel.
Yeah.
Powerful. If you're enjoying this episode, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We'll be deeply appreciative. Join our revolution. The revolution starts within. Okay, so I now want to go to Cambodia.
Let's go.
Yeah, so we were in Cambodia. Tell me what life looked like. How long were you out there for? 2 years, did you say? Or?
I was in Cambodia for like pretty much a year.
A year, okay.
Yeah, that was like give or take.
And how was
months.
life out there for you? What did you discover?
Yeah, when I talk about natural needs at the beginning, like that was what I was getting met ultimately. Cambodia was a beautiful country that I really resonated with. It felt like, I think everywhere we go, the marker of a place is the people that exist there. And everyone was very present, they were very grateful. And I'm sure there's a factor here because I was a white tourist also. That's also, I'm not going to overlook that aspect of it, but everyone just wanted to be my friend. Like, it was just really welcoming culture. Like, the average age in the country was like 21 because of their recent past.
Yeah.
And all they went through, and it was just a real significance between the culture there and then Thailand, and also the way the geography works and how the tourists move around Southeast Asia. But going into rural Cambodia and being invited to a little village outside of the city and teaching English to this very small community centre type deal, which was very new and raw, and just having connection with people there. But just spending a lot of time without shoes, just not really caring about material possessions, like in amazing weather. Yeah, just really being present and focusing on the day. And that is just something that people can go their whole lives without experiencing. Yeah, I think consciousness opens up when my body feels safe enough to do that, or it has the time to start to soften without so many narratives in my head about what I have to do today, or where I have to be, or where I'm going. It was just real presence. It was a phenomenal country to step more into that.
You said when my body has the time to. And Cambodia served that for you because you did have the time and the space to step into, as you said, the consciousness of, actually all I'm doing is focusing on today, and everything else kind of dissolves, all those narratives that we find so much in our day-to-day lives here. You then, my question's kind of twofold, but I'm going to link it back to your returning, because I remember you saying earlier on that when you returned, you were then faced with more things. My question was actually going to be, how does one become, because the key thing there for me is it's because I've experienced it recently, my body had the time to.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we create that type of time for ourselves over here was the question, but then I was also going to say, what were you faced with when you came back from Cambodia? So you can choose.
They can move into each other. How do we create that? It's going to be different for everyone for sure, but there's micro moments in every single day to create more space and just to connect into my body. I think that environment, that sounds negative, but I was forced to. It was like I just moved away from all the voices and of like parents, friends, people who knew me, and I was just able to be present with what was rather than what people expected of me. And that would be like what I wore, what I was eating, like what I was saying. Like I was just more connecting to my authenticity within that environment because nobody knew me. I would honestly believe it. Everyone needs to, at some point, maybe there's a transition period of people leave university or before just to go traveling as like a prerequisite for doing anything. It could be some sort of national service that happens. Like it's so beneficial for people. Like the people we meet now that we've met and they're like, they had a significant time traveling. It's just a clear difference, I think. And I mean like traveling without an expectation of when you're coming back.
Yeah.
There's the difference. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of avoidance also within that. This is what kind of shaped me coming back. Like we can all deceive ourselves. I still do at times. Put ourselves into new environments, maybe create a different story or believe that I've found more happiness or contentment, but then put me back in a more chaotic, familiar environment, and all the patterns are there, all the destructive behaviors can still be there, and they were. So there is a piece to that, but environments, I think, it's like the majority of how we be. Like, I'm okay with the tube, but I don't like who I become on the tube. You know, that kind of metaphor. But the Cambodian chapter and the traveling chapter was allowing my body to just to soften and spend more time with people, to learn with people, and the types of people that would go on an open-ended trip. Huge factor to surround yourself with those kinds of people that are very much curious about life. They don't talk about this and that or who and they. It's all about like, ooh, this is what I'm feeling. How's this impacting me? Where do I want to go? And like, there's a real like sense of there's like different levels of conversation, and there's some people who just talk about how they feel in relation to things and how they want things to be different and how they're going to do something about that, rather than just chatting about what needs to change. They actually go out there and do something.
They action orientated,
Surrounded by a lot of those people. Come back, and ultimately, I do believe that our beliefs shape us. Like, we don't have 70 trillion cells, we have 70 trillion stories in our bodies, which is an interesting one to think about. But like the stories and the narratives I have, the beliefs, it really shapes how I act and behave. And I came back with that same narrative of, I need to get on the ladder of achievement, and just falling into this kind of London way of being, which is very much like, I just need to prove this and get into that role and kind of like find my way there. And it really just crippled me. I wasn't learning more about who I am and where I wanted to be. And I would go to a yoga studio like every single week, and that was the one thing that really centered me and allowed me to be in my body. Everything outside of that was just not doing that. It was kind of doing the opposite. So it was just challenging. That's the necessary 20s, I think, at times, not to like hyper individualize it. I think it is a part of our psyche and how we do evolve, just figuring things out.
Of course.
Yeah.
So you returned to London and you were faced with some of the same patterns. Let's talk about from that point to where you are now, or when you first realized that, you know what, I want to start working with men. I know you started on the podcast and you interviewed men for a whole year. How did that kind of journey evolve? Yeah,
I was in a men's group online called Man Talks. I don't know if you know Connor Beaton. I was in his container for like a whole year, and I was just note taking. I was really on a journey to like understand myself. But I was also in a relationship that was challenged a lot of the time, and the men's work, I didn't really know the term men's work. I just knew that I was interviewing a lot of men, and that either meant that I fancied them or I didn't know myself. Like I was like, okay, something in this, what's going on? And I just did not know like how to be as a man, and I was learning from all these amazing people who I perceived to be doing things in more healthy ways. I'm really just learning about myself, like spending so much time, and a healthy amount of time, like introspection. And I think the pendulum swings, and it's important to find the edge and then come back into balance. But I would be obsessed with just learning about me and my psyche and understanding who I am. And I did that for like, a year, if not more. And so I created a community. I was like, well, it makes sense. I want to learn about men. I want to be in person. So I started a meetup on the beach, and we would literally get rocks and just throw them into the ground and just like release. And you see these like memes of like people being angry, and it's kind of like, you know, it's a bit of, it's kind of comedicized, but it's actually, you know, a very important part of the journey to actually connect to anger, which was the one thing that I knew very well. And I'd be doing all this kind of more emotional, mental work online, but I still had this uncontrollable rage that was still there. And I remember having an argument with my partner, and I punched a hole in the wall. And that was a really important moment for me, because I realized it didn't go anywhere. I can't meditate my way out of feeling angry, which I thought I did. And it was a moment of actually like, oh wow, I met myself with way more compassion than I would have been able to if it was happened a previous year. And I just realized that this anger was just still there, and I just needed to find a space to process it. So I got a coach. I spent 3 months online just like meeting this rage, like going in and like really having the space held to really access this, what was underneath it, which is often very much sadness and grief and a lot more emotion. So the anger was, it was incarcerating the sadness. But I lived in the northeast by a beach, and it was very important to go into the sea every day. And this was around COVID, and I was just like having this portal into the water every day, and I developed a relationship with the cold, and I really just took time. And I think that's just what it takes. It takes a lot of time and the right people around me. So I called men around me. I wasn't like guiding or teaching at that point. I was creating a space around the fire on the beach to really like navigate and highlight things that weren't healthy for me, but then also like move the emotion too. And I realized at that point that I didn't have anywhere that I could go and be angry. I was like on this call with my coach and just feeling like I couldn't even express in my flat, because there's people upstairs, there's this, there's that. And so I got in my van and I drove to this car park, and I was like, this is even worse. What if someone sees me or hears me shouting in the van? So I'm like, where do we actually go to process our emotions and like meet the anger that is so relevant? And it surprises me that more people aren't at the state of things. And yeah, even just for that, the lack of acceptance and understanding of what anger actually is. So I found my place for anger, which was underwater. And I used to go underwater and I used to just scream and let everything out, because as the sea just held it. It was a beautiful experience every time I would do that. But the more I did that, the more it would dissipate, and then I just become a bad person. I was just able to meet this rage and then integrate it and to understand it and to meet it with more love. And I think that's what most of these like energies need, is just to be met with more love and understanding. Creating the space for men at the beach, and throwing rocks into the ground, and just practicing and just connecting with nature, and that was a big part of it. So that unfolded over the years and started retreats. And then I was like, okay, if I'm doing this, I've got to go do the thing, because this was before men's work was in my awareness. And over the years I've been collaborating with lots of different spaces to be held and hold, and it's been still is a navigation.
Okay, so what makes your work different, would you say?
I'd say Men of Earth, which is the organisation that it's been going for like 4 years now. A big part of it is connecting with the elements and connecting with the earth, and I feel if we don't do that, yes, there's the emotional, mental, physical, but if we don't connect to the earth that sustains us, then we're actually missing the point, I think, which is going to be here long after we are. So if we're not serving that thing that's going to sustain the future of us, it just doesn't make any sense. If I see people like compartmentalizing mental health, okay, let's just focus all in on that, and I'm like, I don't see that as helping. It's part of the way, maybe that's a step, but Men of Earth which is harder, I think, to go from not just the mental, but it's the emotional, it's the relational, it's the physical, and it is the mental. But understanding how all those things fit into a space, a retreat, an online circle. How do we get all these needs met as a human? Because if we concentrate on one and deprive the rest, we're going to suffer, I believe. So it's really understanding what it takes to thrive fully as a human. So to put all that into a men's organisation is actually really challenging, I think. It's easy to know your audience if you're just thinking about spiritual health, or you're just thinking about your emotional needs. But I'm really trying to look at things through a holistic lens when I meet people. So like movement's a huge part of it, how we move. And the physical, like I say, it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than think your way into a new way of acting. I think a lot of what I witness, but also a tendency for me, is just to keep thinking my way out of problems, or just explore the emotions, just accept them. But if I'm not physically like getting my needs met and actually having a daily practice, like really putting myself in the right position, even just to sit here for an hour, then is it can I call it health? You know, I really try and look at things in that way. But yeah, also I do things I guess a little differently. I don't know many men's retreats that are as intimate. I've only ever put on retreats for 12 men, if not less, 8 or 12.
Okay.
So it's a very contained environment, and because of that, I've seen the difference between a retreat that puts on for just that amount of people and then a retreat that puts on for more, and I just know the level of depth and like containment that there is in that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely one thing that I think sets it apart for now. I don't know if that's going to change.
Talk to me more about the movement part. How do you explore movement? Why do you believe movement is so important? How can it help aid us into that new way of being?
Great question. Yeah, movement is everything. Movement's life, right? How we walk in a room is generally how we walk through life. And that might be your posture, that might be your confidence. But I think from like a physical point of view, like my feet are very strong. I think your feet need to be your foundation. And I see a lot of people walking around in compromising footwear. You know, we all know Vivo Barefoot, but like how many people actually embody that and start taking care of their feet just from a very practical level. So I'm like, it's a prerequisite really for men to be in the space and really take off their shoes and actually start connecting with their movement. So, and we do it in a very playful way as well. This isn't linear movement. It's not like being in the gym and lifting heavy weights. That has a place, and I've actually come back to that, which I'm loving. But I do believe that the way we were biologically born to move is very much more connected with the ground, moving in like different patterns, like bilateral, moving through the floor. Like we have a spine that can move in many different ways, right? We have our feet. We have 33 different articulations in our feet. 4 layers of arch muscle in our feet. Like that all just gets compromised, and we have such propensity for like amazing explosive movement. And I just don't think that many people understand the anatomy. And I don't, but like I'm closer to it now. That was also where the journey started. But yeah, the movement side of things, I'm like getting on the ground and start crawling and start moving. There's no actual wrong way to move. So I'm about just dynamic movement, and just this can come from in dance as well. It's like how we move our bodies in dance is closer to the point, I think, when we're doing things in more linear kind of reps and sets. It misses a big part of like getting that like longevity need met, because there's also Cambodia, like going back there, like the people that are connected to the floor, that don't have furniture and sit on the floor and have relationships with the floor, they're into their old age like with amazing bone density, and their posture and their muscle strength is just phenomenal, just from removing the chair, removing, you know, sitting down and compromising movement. Yeah, it's a big one, and I like to make space for that. I think it's important.
And what breakthroughs have you witnessed within yourself when you started leaning more into movement? In any, like not in just one area, in any area of your life or every area?
Yeah, so movement. I think we talk a lot about the breath. If breath is spirit and spirit's life, then are we, and the yogis knew this, right? You have to, that's what yoga practice was about. It was about coming into more alignment and more strength. And we have this tendency to use one part of our body more than the other part, but we're in half. So yoga really tries to balance out those sides of ourselves and create more alignment and balance. And that's going to just naturally manifest with your breath. You're going to be able to breathe deeper, relax muscles here, and just have a more integrity in my posture, allow me to breathe better. So that's definitely one thing that I've felt. Also, just how it manifests in my day. If anyone's experienced like pain in their body, they know it's hard to think clearly, to just live life, and it can really cause a lot of people a lot of pain. When we see things, we can't unsee them, right? And when we start to look at things from this more natural lens, I really know that it's you just start to then see it everywhere. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way. I really believe we can. It starts to get more uncomfortable because it comes down to what's socially normal as well, right? And what's naturally normal for us isn't actually socially normal. So social norms aren't natural norms. So we have these things in our culture that just are normal to do, like looking at a phone all day. And we're just like, we're really compromising, but we can actually start to like develop a relationship. So when we see everything through the lens of what's naturally normal for us, we can start to kind of rewire the relationship we have to the ground, making sure we're squatting more, making sure we're moving better through our environment.
And do you personally bring this into your life every day? Is it a practice that you do like every morning?
This is the thing, it has to be a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It has to be. I like getting into the cold pretty much every day. That's just what I do now. I think the benefits of that just seem non-negotiable. Like, we are so comfortable in our lives, in our modern day. We are like comfortable, but then we're like, we're challenged at the same time, and there's such a conversation there about more comfort doesn't bring more like strength or health. So yeah, movement is trying to squat, trying to build more relationship with the ground. Like it's just really important. So yeah, it's funny moving into London and like being in that environment. It slipped a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But it's still important for me to like get in the studio and just move and dance. It's a big one. But yeah, it has to be seen as like something I just do every day. Yeah.
So you dance every day?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you dance to? Does it depend on your mood, or do you have like a favorite like, is there a go-to playlist for you that you have on your phone, or?
There's many.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably ED bangers.
Okay.
Static dance bangers. I can share it. It's
I do.
I mean, music is a way of life.
Yeah.
It's the biggest embodiment practice going. You can't fake dancing, can you? You could try, and obviously, what does fake really mean? But like, we can have a conversation on the dance floor, and I can learn a lot about you rather than sat down just chatting. In terms of like how comfortable you are with your body, how easy it is for you to move, how much you're in your head, or actually like exploring ranges of motion, how much time you like to spend just being playful or connecting to your wildness, whatever it is. Like, just dancing is just so important. I rate it more than any other practice, and it's deeply feminine as well. I feel it really is just it's chaotic movement at times, and if we try and control it, it just stops becoming the dance, you know. So yeah, it's expression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your role at Ansol now, because it's very community focused.
For sure.
And I'd love to hear your views on what community is, what you think, I know it's a huge question, but you know, like what you think it's missing, what do you think we need to do more of within these spaces to cultivate like a really true sense of community?
Sure. Great question. And I'll interlink it with like the men's work that I do as well, because there's a lot of overlap. It's the environments I'm doing my best to create with many other people. That call us into more, calls me into more. So I think community is definitely the most overlooked aspect of our health. It's the one thing that 10 years ago I was prioritizing over money, over work. Like I was like, wow, I need to be surrounded by community. I know it's possible because I see other people doing it, to have an amazing network of people that they trust, that they can be supported by, that they just, other people just seem to have a great like connection with their friends. I've never had that. It just always felt like it wasn't possible for me. That's not true. I did think it was possible, but there was this kind of, back and forth of like, why is it not here? And I was always trying to get it without thinking about what I can contribute. And I think that was a big shift for me of not looking to gain and being really resistant and creating a lot of tension for why I don't have this thing, but like thinking from the other way around, which is, okay, maybe I'm just not showing up for others and I don't have anything to contribute to, because a relationship's never one way, right? So it's important, I think, for all of us to consider, like, what are we bringing to these spaces? What are we contributing? I know the spaces that me and you work within and like to live within, there's a lot of contribution, there's a lot of shared ownership and respect and real integrity as a part of that. There's so many factors to community. I would say alignment is a huge aspect of like understanding what we're all agreeing to. Like we make agreements in the men's work of like, how can any work be done if well, not work, but like how can life be done without understanding what we're really agreeing to? If you look at any community that's thriving, they all have their principles and their understandings of, like, maybe it's on paper, but maybe it's more energetic. Like, what do we want more of? What do we want to stand for? And when times get tough, like, how do we come back into that? Which they will. So what are we agreeing to? I think it's a big aspect. And then we know then what we're pointing to, which is alignment. You can't really be in alignment unless you know what you're striving towards. It's a paradox though, because it's obviously you want to be present whilst in it and not like trying to gain or get something all the time. So alignment, agreements, and I'd say just the values that we want to live by, which is a little bit different. The values could be compassion. I saw your values on your website. Devotion, like, do we want to devote ourselves to something bigger than who we are? I think that's so important. I've actually just put together like a manual for Shoreditch, just to everyone can have in their house, and they can understand, like, these are the principles, these are the values, and then these are our guidelines, these are our boundaries, and this is how we can make sense of what we all want to agree to. And also, one of those values might be challenge, and it might be honesty and speaking your truth. And like, if that's going against this, then great, let's have a conversation. It's circular, it's not one way. And to me, it sounds like obvious, but like that structure of having it more circular is just a revolution, like literally. How do we actually create these systems that are more circular and more in harmony? And when I'm out of integrity, that impacts you. And how do I take responsibility for that? What are the systems in place? So when I'm out of integrity and I try and hide, the container's there to make sure that doesn't happen, and it's creating a support structure in place. So when people are out of integrity, it impacts people, so they want the best for them, so they want to actually bring them back in to their alignment. But we're humans, we're messy, we're definitely going to get things wrong, and I think that's a huge part of it. Compassion is, again, so important. More love, more life, more love. But these systems we don't have, or these models we don't have, and could be the biggest aspect of the conversation. It's like, we need to create new models and new systems to allow us to thrive and together, because there's so much separation, there's so much disconnect. And even the journey up here, I'm always in my mind, I'm like, we've just made it so easy for people to hide. Hide on their phones, hide in their screens, hide in their rooms. Like, we are just so cut off from the hearth, the nexus of our culture. And I get why, like, I have compassion for why, but ultimately it just doesn't serve us. It hasn't served me, cutting myself off from people, but it's just so easy to do that. and it's comfortable. And I think because we are humans on this journey, we will always gravitate to the things that are quite comfortable. And that's why discipline is the biggest act of self-love, because I think it takes discipline. I think it takes discipline to actually know and have foresight and wisdom to be like, no, I know if I choose this option, if I go down this route, I need to not do that, because it's not in the best interest of me or those around me. And if you haven't got community, then there's definitely people that want that for you as well. You know?
Yeah, beautiful. I think there's so much in what you just said, but coming back to, you just reminded me of something that I watched quite a while back, but you brought it back into my memory when you were talking about like things being circular and like having compassion and having, you know, these principles and values. There are certain tribes across the world that when somebody within the tribe or the village does something where it's out of integrity, instead of calling a meeting where, and you probably know this, but instead of calling a meeting where they're condemning the individual, they bring the person into the circle and they speak love over that person. I love you, I see you, you're remarkable at this, you know, your gift is this. They just speak love and speak love and speak love until the person is so full that they can't. So they don't even, they've addressed that there's something out of integrity, but the addressing is because the person has come into the center so that then they know that they've done something out of integrity. And then the next day, they just invite them into the fold. And I remember it being spoken about, saying the statistics of that person doing that wrong again dramatically decreases, because love is the greatest, you know, the greatest thing that we have. So that was one of the things that came into like my thought pattern when you were talking to me about developing new like ways of how we actually move within community, and also link back to our conversation earlier on when we were saying how do we have those sometimes those uncomfortable you know, conversations. And I think what you said about, you know, cutting yourself off, or as people, that's what we do. I think a lot of people are scared. I think, you know, the world can be a scary place, and it looks like a really scary place. And I think some of the responsibility that we have as human beings and as individuals is creating safety within ourselves, so therefore we can offer safety for others as well, you know, and then hopefully we'll start seeing more of a, you know what, I'm going to put my phone down actually, and I'm going to go for a coffee with this person. And I think even within these communities, I have found that there are still people that feel so isolated, you know, and I'm really exploring why that is, you know, and what is it that we can do differently to stop that from happening. Because connection, we weren't born to be by ourselves. We need, as humans, we need connection. You see it in nature, you know, we need connection. So yeah,
thank you. There's so much to say on this. Like, I think even I look at the systems that we do exist in, and what is our, like, the fundamental thing? It's like food. It's where we live and where we eat, and a lot of people eat alone. You know, it doesn't have to. We live in such big communities, but everyone's seemingly just not meeting to share food. And I think it has to. We have to start growing food again. It's like it's so fundamental, and it just seems like one of the only things that's gonna make big shifts in how we relate to each other. But you know, it's easy for me to sit here and say like what we need in community, but to actually live that and actually like do something about it when it's not directly, I'm not directly involved, because it's like their business is their business, and it's like I don't want to intrude on them. And if I see something that's going on in community and it's happening around us, and I'll just speak for me and men, like men that are out of integrity, men that do shit that is not beneficial for them or the people around them. Like, it happens, and if I don't do something about that, then I'm part of the problem. Right? Like, if 1 out of 100 men does something really shitty and 99 do nothing, like there might as not be any men that are like trying to stand for things. So it is all about action. It's like, how do we actually start standing for things that might even compromise my position, or like where I see myself in the community. I don't want to rock the boat here, or I don't want to be seen as like taking sides, or there's just so much to the conversation. And again, it's easy to just stay in our lane, but like it really takes a lot for someone to witness something happen which you know is not right and then get involved.
Yeah.
Like people don't.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah, it is. It is. But hopefully through conversations like this and, you know, the work that you're doing, we will be able to create more containers where people then start feeling safe, as I said earlier, safer within themselves to then be able to step out to and not look at it as I'm rocking the boat, but actually, no, I'm doing this because it's going to serve a greater purpose, and we're trying to just create safer containers and homes and individuals. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's imperative. But how do we do that? I think we're trying our best. Like I see you and I see how much Soul Revolution has done in the last 2 years, and beyond probably, but it's just amazing how like this is happening. I'd say this podcast, like I've been having very similar conversations on my podcast. I don't know many others that are like having these real, just authentic, non-clickbaity and non like kind of politicized and just feeding the machine of content, but actually trying to have real conversations with people about land, about food, about like spaces that we can relate in, and music and real like connection. Like there's not, you'd be forgiven if you thought it didn't exist. But it does, and there are other people out there. It's just not so in my face.
Yeah.
You have to look for it, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's definitely. And being a part of these communities for the last 3 years, I'd say like the culture that we're all, like impacted by at festivals and events and retreats and gatherings, like that's where the magic is happening. But then people do just go back to their own space.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was so close.
Yes.
But how do we actually start fully living this way?
Yeah.
And it takes fucking commitment. It takes compromise. Compromise the niceties of modern life. And I don't know when that shift's going to happen, but I want it to, and I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just have to keep the conversation moving, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you. I've really enjoyed this conversation and where it's gone as well. So thank you. We always end the podcast with saying to our guest, is there something that's on your heart that you'd like to share with the viewers? So I was just wondering if there's something on your heart that you would like to share with our viewers.
Yeah. First thing that comes up is go listen to the Nick Mulvey, Power of Your Own.
Okay.
That song just goes with me everywhere. Yeah, I'd say it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. I think that's something that really resonated with me and carries me forward. And without a direction, no wind is favourable. As someone said to me once, it's important to choose, because not choosing is also a choice of like, what do you actually want to stand for? And I think if you don't know, just making decisions and moving forward, and connecting to your heart, because that is the most important thing for now. Like people don't need more celebrities and more people with things. They need more, and I need more men and women to be connected to their hearts. So that's the last thing I'll say.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your wisdom and your gift and just your hearts. Thank you. It's really felt and seen, and may you continue to go forth in your work and just create this ripple, and hopefully this ecosystem that we're trying to create, may it just grow and grow and grow. So thank you so much. Thank you. And to all our viewers, we will link everything below. So if people want to connect with you, actually, if people do want to connect with you, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the best place. For email, but you can pop that in there.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. And to our viewers, remind me of that quote that you just said, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility.
Exactly.
It's so big. That's really, yeah, that's a big one. But to our viewers, thank you so much. I'm hoping that this conversation poured into your hearts, the richness of it and the diversity of it. And do remember, as you said so beautifully, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. It's not my fault, but it is my responsibility. And may we move with that. Have a beautiful week, and we'll see you next time. God bless. Thank you. Thank you.
Shout out to Guru.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much.
The revolution starts within.